A week of language. So this week we are spending all the videos talking about language in the context of a series on how non-duality and native wisdom intersect. If you want to see it all in order, it'll hopefully make a whole lot more sense. And you can find that on my website, maprimzareen.com. Look for the course on native wisdom and non-duality. So we're spending the whole week using language to talk about language. And in particular, we're using one language, English, to talk about language itself. So hopefully what this does is kind of just opens up concepts of, oh, language is the thing that has hypnotized me my whole life. Everything that I've seen has been translated into language. All the stories that have come to me from this particular language that I was taught from a very, very small child. My ability to interact with the world is so deeply intertwined with this language that's in my head. And hopefully when you start kind of looking at it that way, you can kind of start disengaging from the magnetic attachment that the language is giving to your consciousness. Like, what happens when you just look at things? It's so much easier and nicer to do this in nature. Like, I was just looking at some trees and it's just like, oh. Way nicer than going, oh, leaves and the kind of a tree is this and it grows, all the things that language does. We have a direct connection to life when we're not describing it. And this is what non-duality is trying to tell us, that you are not your thoughts. That in essence, that's what it means. You are not your language. You are the one having the thoughts. You're more like the space over which the thoughts flow. You're you. Thoughts are thoughts. So we're kind of using this week to explore how our particular language informs our world view. There's so many different things, like we think, we want to save the world, right? The biggest idea most people seem to have these days is like, oh, if only we could have more love, we could save the world. But it just doesn't seem to work, does it? Because love to us is a noun, it's a concept. Love. What is that really? Love. Why is it the more we try to have it, kind of the more unloving we become? Why is it we try to have relationships? Oh, this relationship is built on love. And then after a while, oh, my love is gone. I have to leave the relationship. So this is a really good example right here of how if we start to think more in actions, verbs, then we can get closer towards the actual human experience, say, of love. Because there really isn't such thing as love. But there is being more caring, taking care of others, thinking about others before you think about yourself, always considering how your actions are working with others. So there's all these steps and actions that can constantly be taken. And then out of that, the feeling of love arises. Love itself isn't a fixed thing, but it's like an arising feeling. It's an arising state of being. Almost like an awareness. Oh, yeah, I love this. But then that does not just stay fixed unless it's constantly fed with, like a garden. So love is a thing that has to constantly be created. Same thing with war. I mean, in order to whip people up into a point where they're willing to run out and kill other people and be killed, it has to constantly be, somebody's got to be constantly cracking the whip, making people afraid of each other. So all these things come to us through our language. All of your worries, next time you're worrying, stop and catch yourself and go, oh. It's like you're sitting there and all of a sudden you'll notice that you've just played this huge story through your head. Very often it's a really real problem. I do not ever discount that. Too many spiritual teachings want you to do that. But the actual language that it comes from is the thing that you are then going to try to use to correct the situation. Sometimes stopping the language altogether, not going into feeling, but more going into awareness. The picture's always bigger. There's always another side. Language, our language, particularly English, is very fixed. This is why art and music are so fabulous, because it steps us out of this fixed place of language into a place of creativity. So, think about language in the language that you have to think about language with. Finally, who is it who's actually thinking? That's non-duality's question. Native wisdom is more concerned with what is the quality of what you are thinking.